Thanks everyone for being here this evening or late afternoon if you're on the West Coast. Again, Nancy Trevino with Stop the Money Pipeline. I'd first like to make an announcement around accessibility before we move forward with our program for the evening. So if we can put that up around accessibility regarding closed captioning that we want to feature on this call. So for those of you who are in need of closed captioning, if you go to the control bar at the bottom of your Zoom window, you'll see a live transcript with a closed caption icon that you can click on. You'll see it'll tell you show subtitle. You can click on that and captions will automatically come up. If you don't see that on the image on your screen, you'll see more with 3 little dots. You can click on that. It'll give you the caption option. If you just click on the captions, the captions will automatically appear above the control bar. So we want to make sure that all of you have options to participate in the best way that you can. And thanks again for being here with us. We're really excited. We have some amazing speakers who are joining us this evening, including CWA President Claude Cummings Jr. We have Representative Mark Pocan from Wisconsin joining us as well. Becca Hinojosa of the South Texas Environmental Justice Network. AFT President Randy Weingarten, who might be a little bit late, but will be here, and Evan Sutton of Tesla Takedown. But before we get into our speakers, I want to give you a broad overview of the Boycott T-Mobile campaign. And we want to start by saying that in light of the tragic news of Charlie Kirk's murder today, that is all over the headlines, it's important for us to acknowledge that we are a nonviolent movement and adhere to nonviolent strategies in our fight for justice. We're really inspired to be part of the organizing and the mass mobilizations across the country as the Trump regime sends the military into our cities and disappears people off the streets. T-Mobile has capitulated to Trump and right-wing billionaires like Elon Musk. And that's completely unacceptable. So that's why we're here today. We're working with the Tesla Takedown movement, Communications Workers of America, to bring you together as we speak out against authoritarianism and threats to our democracy and hold corporations like T-Mobile accountable. We're calling for this boycott of T-Mobile to demonstrate widespread opposition to Elon Musk's political activity and Trump's authoritarianism, and to demonstrate to corporate America that doing business with the Musk empire and aligning themselves with the Trump regime is a serious reputational risk. We want to create a really powerful disincentive to the entire billionaire class, openly embracing far-right politics, and create a powerful disincentive for corporate America, working with Musk's companies like Starlink and capitulating to Trump's authoritarianism. So some of you might know that we launched this campaign really targeting Musk's Starlink. And since the launch of the campaign, we were urging T-Mobile to break up with Musk's Starlink. T-Mobile since then has further sided with the Trump regime and has refused to end its partnership with Musk's Starlink, a subsidiary of SpaceX. They most recently ended their diversity, equity, and inclusion program to appease the Trump regime so that the administration would fast track the approval of 2 major acquisitions that in fact did happen. T-Mobile also has lobbied for Trump's disastrous budget bill that's going to strip millions of Americans of health care and pay for tax cuts for the millionaire and billionaire class. T-Mobile has also spent many years engaging in really vicious union busting tactics to prevent workers from organizing. And just in July, the Trump organization launched Trump Mobile, on the T-Mobile network. As Trump wages war on immigrants and continues deploying troops in cities across the country, T-Mobile is really focused on getting as close as possible to the president, ignoring this really glaring conflict of interest. And to top it off, despite Elon Musk causing harm to his own companies, has been demonstrated by Tesla's continued dismal performance, his Nazi salutes on Inauguration Day, and gutting the federal government as head of Doge, T-Mobile continues to choose to enrich billionaires who attack democracy. And so that's why we're calling for a boycott if T-Mobile chooses to not reverse course. And so tonight you're going to be hearing from activists, union leaders, and elected officials to discuss the impact of T-Mobile's unacceptable behavior and how we can all come together to hold corporations like T-Mobile accountable for caving to Trump's authoritarianism and oligarchs who attack democracy like Elon Musk. But before I hand over the mic to our first speaker, we want to get a temperature check from everyone here to check on how many of you are T-Mobile customers with us tonight. So we'll take a couple of seconds for you to fill out this poll question to see who is with T-Mobile. So you'll see the poll, it's popped up on your screen. Are you currently a T-Mobile customer? We'll give you a few more seconds to fill out that poll. All right, let's see what those poll results are. All right, I like these comments. Already canceled. I'm planning to switch. All right, so it seems like 44% on this call this evening are T-Mobile customers. Welcome. We hope that you are moved to switch on November 15th. We're going to show some more. We're going to explain a bit more of how we're looking to do that. And now we'd love everyone who's joined us this evening to first start by signing onto our Boycott T-Mobile pledge. Whether you're a T-Mobile customer or not, you can sign on. The pledge asks T-Mobile customers to commit to ending their contract with T-Mobile on November 15th. If T-Mobile refuses to break up with Musk's Starlink, if they refuse to drop Trump Mobile from the T-Mobile network, if they refuse to reinstate their DEI program, and if they refuse to stop union busting. So if you're not a T-Mobile customer, you can pledge to never do business with T-Mobile as well. So you'll see in the chat, there's a link where you can sign our pledge. And now I'm going to start with introducing our first speaker. Representative Pocan hasn't joined us just yet, so we're going to move to CWA President Claude Cummings Jr., who was elected as the president of the Communication Workers of America Union in 2023. Prior to his election as president, Mr. Cummings served as an at-large member of CWA's executive board, then as vice president of CWA District 6, representing workers in Arkansas, Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Texas. The mic is all yours, Mr. Cummings.
Thank you so much, Nancy, and hello to all of you. Thank you for joining the call tonight. I do want to mention, as Nancy did, I'm going to acknowledge the news coming out of Utah, the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Let me just state the obvious, that there is no room for political violence, and certainly our prayers are with his family. Again, thank all of you for being on the call tonight, for your commitment to holding corporations and corporate executives accountable for their role in helping Donald Trump and his billionaire backers move forward with their cruel and deadly agenda. T-Mobile has always bragged about being different from other companies. Even today, they claim on their website to be a greater force for good. But let me just say this. Workers who have tried to organize to join a union at T-Mobile, I have known the truth for a long time. T-Mobile is no different than most U.S. companies when it comes to respecting its workers' rights. In fact, They have been among the worst labor law violators over the past 15 years. They prevented workers from discussing their working conditions and silenced victims of sexual harassment. They even forced workers to gather for an anti-union meetings during the height of the pandemic. Now T-Mobile is showing everyone else what they really stand for. Not only is the company in business with a billionaire CEO who supports far-right authoritarian, is a far-right authoritarian governments around the world, it's also recently ended its diversity initiatives to appease the Trump regime so that administration would fast-track approval of two major acquisitions. Those diversity initiatives are in place because of an agreement with T-Mobile had made with a broad group of civil rights organizations. The company made the agreement about 5 years ago in order to secure their support for its merger with Sprint. You know, if T-Mobile truly cared about racial justice, they would have agreed to respect the workers' rights to join a union, because union membership and collective bargaining agreements are the best tool we have to advance economic equality and racial justice. You know, we asked T-Mobile leaders to do that, and they just flat refuse. You know, I guess when T-Mobile says greater force for good, they mean for the good of their executives and their big-time investors. Meanwhile, the rest of us are watching as the rights and freedoms that our ancestors fought and died for are being shredded right before our eyes by a reckless, unconstrained president and his white supremacist allies and advisors. A president, listen to this, a president who celebrated Labor Day by ripping away collective bargaining rights for even more federal workers. He has now illegally terminated the contracts for nearly 500,000 workers. This is by far, the largest act of union busting in American history. I know that those of you who are here tonight understand the threat that Donald Trump poses and the urgency of fighting back. To win this fight, we must make it clear to corporations that being in bed with Donald Trump is bad for business. CWA members will be out at T-Mobile stores spreading the word about the boycott and gathering pledges from customers to cancel their service, just like some of you are pledging to do tonight, if they don't reverse course. And you know what? I'm going to be out there with them. We'll be putting up a list of locations soon. Please come join us at a store near you. Thank you so much for being on this call tonight. Thank you so much, Nancy and others, for allowing me to make a few comments. And let's get out and let's give T-Mobile hell.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, President Cummings. We appreciate being in this fight with CWA and Tesla Takedown. Thanks again for that inspiring speech, and we'll see you out in the streets soon.
I'm looking forward to being there. I'm looking forward to being there.
Thank you so much. Next, I'm honored to introduce our next speaker, Representative Pocan of Wisconsin's 2nd Congressional District. The congressman has been representing the district since 2013. He's a former small business owner, union member, and progressive advocate who fights for policies that promote economic and social justice. Welcome, Congressman. The mic is all yours.
Well, thanks so much for having me tonight. You can see in the background, I'm in the middle of an Appropriations Committee markup, our final markup of the 12 bills that are going to go nowhere because the Republicans don't know how to govern. But nonetheless, we're finishing the last bill tonight. But I really wanted to be with you all tonight for a couple reasons. One, everything President Cummings said is so true about T-Mobile. They have an awful record when it comes to union busting and how they treat their workers. And they have a very close relationship with this business that Donald Trump has started, the Trump family has started, that is going to try to offer phone service. You may remember they initially said that have only American-made phones. They've quickly backed off of that. And just like they back off of everything they say, but they are working directly with T-Mobile. And T-Mobile is working directly with Elon Musk Starlink, and it's an incestuous bunch of conservative interest all investing in each other. And there's definitely conflict of interest by what's happening. So it's important that we put pressure on T-Mobile to not do that. And every time they're investing in Elon Musk Starlink, we have to really push to end that relationship. Elon Musk, obviously, you all know, has done nothing but awful things with his money, both in helping to elect Donald Trump, but also the dismantling of the federal government, hurting federal workers, and ultimately hurting services that people count on every single day by the work he did with Doge. And even though he's sort of out of the picture now, his money is still there. And I think he'll be back in sooner than you think. But, while he was at his peak of working with Doge, we introduced a bill to try to stop that. And it was called the Eliminate the Looting of Our Nation by Mitigating Unethical State Kleptocracy. You may recognize that spells out the Elon Musk Act that would have stopped him from being able to really continue to benefit and make money off of the work he was doing, getting federal contracts while he's in the process of supposedly trying to right-size the government. At least he's out of the immediate picture, but he wasn't out of the picture in Wisconsin's elections in April. And we saw what happened. He overshot by putting the money in and thinking he could buy an election in a state like mine. And ultimately, he lost because of it. They lost the Supreme Court election, and now we have a fair court majority, and that's important. But we've got to make sure that we're holding these corporations accountable, like T-Mobile, that are doing this, that working with Starlink. We've got to break that link. We've got to make them realize we know that they're working with the Trump administration or Donald Trump to empower the Trump family, because that's the only thing Donald Trump actually cares about, is enriching his own family. But one other thing you should know about T-Mobile, they were very active in supporting the big ugly bill, which is now the big ugly law that took away healthcare from 15 million people, going to increase all of our healthcare premiums, took food assistance away from kids, the number one program keeping kids out of poverty. They literally, millions and millions of people are going to lose access, cut education funding, and they did it all so they could provide a tax break for, guess who, Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Well, I want you to know what T-Mobile said when that bill came up. This is from their own information putting out there. Quote, T-Mobile strongly supports the House reconciliation package. That's the big ugly law. The tax and spectrum provisions will jumpstart economic growth and advance U.S. leadership in wireless communications. We appreciate Congress's work on these issues for our economic future, and we look forward to swift passage so we can begin putting these policies to work. They supported the taking away of your health care, the increase of your costs on healthcare, taking away food assistance, increasing education spending, and so much more that was in that bill. And don't forget, we also lost 1 year on the Social Security Fund in order to pay for those tax cuts for the wealthiest. So it's an awful bill, and I'm not going to go into that tonight, but T-Mobile also was part of that process to get that passed. So I'm glad you're all here listening tonight. I'm glad that we're having this conversation. Let's put some real pressure on T-Mobile to break that link with Starlink, and let's hold corporations accountable. If they're going to, just work with Trump family to enrich the Trump family, well, then maybe we're not going to enrich those corporations. And that's what we really have to do more of. And I'm just really glad to pop in very briefly and get back to my hearing, but to be with you all tonight. And again, thanks for your interest in this, and thanks for everything you can do to put pressure on T-Mobile.
Thank you so much, Representative Pocan. We know you're very busy, so appreciate you joining us for a few minutes. Good luck with all the work you're doing out there. Thank you so much. Wonderful. Such great speakers so far. But before we move on to our next speaker, we want to take another poll, get a temperature check on which of T-Mobile's horrible decisions really motivate you. So we'll get that poll up in a couple seconds. We'll just take a few seconds to see what's motivating you the most. Is it the lobbying for the one big disastrous bill? Is it canceling DEI? Is it their relationship with funding Elon Musk through their Starlink partnership? Let us know. We'll give it a few more seconds and see what the results come in as. All right, let's see what these results are. All right, so I think there's a pretty fair, out of all the 150 who took the poll these last few seconds, it looks like it's pretty even amongst all of the bad decisions that T-Mobile made. Thank you so much for participating in that poll. Now I am honored to introduce our next guest, Becca Hinojosa of the South Texas Environmental Justice Network, who lives in Brownsville, Texas, near Boca Chica Beach, where Elon Musk SpaceX plans to launch Starlink satellites in partnership with T-Mobile. Becca is an artist and a community organizer from the Rio Grande Valley. For the last 14 years, Becca has facilitated art builds for community campaigns, civil disobedience actions on various issues such as oil and gas drilling, the BP oil spill, mountaintop removal, migrant justice, and climate justice, and has also been campaigning to stop Musk's colonization of South Texas and Boca Chica Beach. And Becca will tell you more. The mic is all yours, Becca.
Hello, my name is Becca Hinojosa. I'm one of the co-founders of the South Texas Environmental Justice Network. We are a local organization in Brownsville, Texas. Our community is along the US-Mexico border and the Gulf of Mexico. So I am born and raised in South Texas, and our low-income, brown, and indigenous community is directly impacted by Elon Musk's SpaceX rocket ships to Mars and Elon Musk's company town. Today, I demand that T-Mobile immediately distance itself and drop Elon Musk's Starlink project. Elon Musk is a fascist billionaire who is destroying our homes in South Texas, our pristine wildlife habitat, and destroying the beach that is very sacred to us called Boca Chica. This beach is also sacred and precious to the Carrizo Comocrudo tribe of Texas. They are the original native indigenous people of this region. For almost 5 years now, I have been forced to experience about 13 of Elon Musk's rocket explosions, many of which sounded and felt like a literal bomb going off. Some of those explosions caused my home to shake and vibrate, which felt like an earthquake. The first time I ever felt an earthquake in my entire life was here in Brownsville, and it was caused by a billionaire blowing up rockets for his fantasy to Mars. Another SpaceX explosion sent blown up rocket debris into our neighborhoods, sending a plume of dust that forced the elementary school students to evacuate indoors. SpaceX is also destroying the wetlands and habitat of endangered species like the ocelot, the migratory birds here, the beautiful flora and fauna. The rocket fires have also burned down more than 60 acres of the lower Rio Grande Valley Wildlife Refuge. And every time Elon Musk uses our poor brown community as a testing site, as an open lab for experimental Mars rockets, they dump polluted water on our Boca Chica beach, and they have repeatedly violated the Clean Water Act. SpaceX is blowing up these Mars rockets on sacred lands, and they have never consulted with the Carrizo Comocrudo tribe. And this is an absolute violation of Native Indigenous rights. The Carrizo Comocrudo tribe and our people condemn SpaceX. And as many of y'all know, Elon Musk has inserted himself into the White House and the federal government. He did this so he could circumvent regulators and allow SpaceX to avoid oversight and to also absorb millions of taxpayer dollars. In South Texas, we say in Spanish, fuera SpaceX, and that means SpaceX must go. Now, Elon Musk has also created his own company town on our beach, and he did this to house his fascist, white supremacist ideas and to increase the number of dangerous rocket launches to Mars. Now, Elon Musk calls this company town on our beach Starbase, and we call it Naziville because that's what it is. So about 2 years ago, Elon Musk closed off access to our beach to host a press conference party with T-Mobile and announce his big Starlink partnership. Now that beach is for low-income brown people. People have been going there for generations, including my mother's family, including me, to swim, to fish, to feed our families. If T-Mobile continues to work with Elon Musk, the size and scale of these rocket launches will increase in our community. If T-Mobile keeps working with this techno-fascist, it means our homes will shake and continue to crack. Our bay and our beach will keep being polluted with toxic rocket pollution, and that the Carrizo como crudo's way of life will keep being destroyed. Elon Musk and SpaceX are a threat to humanity, and T-Mobile must drop them now. So we urge all of you here with us today to sign the Boycott T-Mobile pledge. Join us in our effort to collect as many commitments as possible. By escalating this campaign, we are showing corporate America that we are not okay with companies like T-Mobile further enriching techno-fascists like Elon Musk. The stakes are so high for us in South Texas, and we won't stay silent. We won't go quietly as T-Mobile keeps lining the pockets of the world's most destructive and far-right billionaire, Elon Musk. Thank you all so much for having me. And let's keep going.
Thank you so much, Becca. I think your speech gives a really great illustration of how high the stakes are here. We also we want to give you a sense of the threat of the continued launches of these T-Mobile Starlink satellites coming out of Boca Chica Beach will do to the environment. And we have a short video that we want to play so you can visually see what's at risk, the ecosystem and the communities that are at risk. So Austin from our team will play a short video.
They're trying to pass laws right now in Texas, SB 2188 and SB 2230, that would let SpaceX and Elon Musk's company town close Boca Chica Beach whenever they want. That beach, it's not just sand and water. It's sacred ground to the Carrizo Camecrudo tribe. It's where stories begin. These bills would make it illegal for us to go to our own ancestral lands. They say it's for public safety, but whose safety? Not ours, not the land's. This isn't progress. It's colonization with rockets and fences. When corporations write the rules and politicians fall in line, it's our water, our air, our stories that pay the price. We are still here, and we will not be criminalized for walking where our ancestors walk.
Thanks so much again, Becca, for that really powerful speech, and Austin for playing that video for us. Next, we're going to have our next speaker, Evan Sutton of the Tesla Takedown movement, who's based in Seattle and has been leading the fight against fascist Elon Musk since earlier this year with hundreds and thousands of people across the country. We're going to get a slideshow up quickly as Evan takes us through some of this amazing work and why these boycotts are so important and are so powerful. The mic is yours, Evan.
Thank you so much, Nancy. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I'm really honored to be on this call with Becca, with President Cummings, with Representative Pocan, and a little bit later with AFT President Randy Weingarten. It's just a really amazing opportunity that we have here And I wanted to start with just a little bit of inspiration for folks. I don't know about all of you, but even on days when the news isn't quite as grim as it was today, there's just a constant flood that makes it sometimes feel like it's impossible to move ourselves forward. But I want to talk a little bit about two important boycott movements that have already shown that we can hold corporations and billionaires and politicians to account with our dollars. The first one is Tesla Takedown, which I have been honored to be a part of this movement since early February. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about my involvement later. But I just want to share that on the left side here, you see the very first known Tesla Takedown protest, which was just two young women in Manhattan outside of a store, one of them with a camera and one of them with this sign. And they had the vision and the courage to go out to this store and post it on the internet. That was picked up by a disinformation professor at Boston University named Joan Donovan. It jumped from her Blue Sky feed to the actor Alex Winter, who played Bill S. Preston Esquire in the Bill and Ted franchise. And a small group of activists just put together a quick and easy website. They created an action network map, and they invited everyone to host a protest in their own community at a Tesla store on February 15th. I was one of those people who organized a protest at the Tesla store here in Seattle, one of them, on February 15th. And just 6 weeks later, you can see over here on our first global day of action on March 29th, thousands of people in front of that same showroom where there had just been those two young women not even 2 months before. The Tesla Takedown movement, next slide, please, has grown over these months. Sorry, there's a little pop-up on my screen. I'm just going to move there. In the now 7 and change months since the movement began, there have been more than 2,500 protests around the globe. That is including in more than 300 unique cities in 19 countries. Most of them have been here in the United States, but it is truly a global movement. More than 500 individual people have stepped up to host a protest. And more than half of those folks tell us that they had never organized a political action of any kind before they decided to host a Tesla Takedown action. And some of those folks have been organizing every single weekend since February 15th. I want you to think about that. There are dozens of people around the country who had never organized anything before in their lives, and they have hosted every single weekend for 7+ months. We still have more than 40 weekly actions happening. On that global day of action, March 21st, we had more than 300 on the same day. And we've generated more than 20,000 unique press hits since February 15th. Of course, that's important because that's a big part of how we get the word out about a movement like this. And that picture there is my friend's dog, who's one of our protest mascots here in Seattle. He's Dash Dog on Instagram if you want to follow him for all of his hijinks and lots of great content. Next slide, please, Austin. You can see here some of these headlines. I just want to remind folks, because some of this was truly a lot of fun, right? When the things were really bad for Tesla, they had to do a car show on the White House lawn. Some of Tesla's biggest stock boosters and hype machines said things like a code red for Tesla, talked about unprecedented brand damage. And we've seen all of that. And one thing I do want to say is sometimes these things have unintended consequences. We obviously set out to hold Elon Musk accountable, but we also wanted to create friction in the system. And one of the most important things we can do as this authoritarian or wannabe authoritarian regime ramps up is create friction, because you never know where it might break down. And while Elon Musk is still just as big a threat as he was at any point along the way, he has had this sort of falling out with Donald Trump to where he's not in the White House every day. He was not invited, you may have noticed, to the big summit earlier this week, or was that maybe last week? It's hard to keep track, where all of these other tech leaders went to the White House. And part of that is because of the strain that the Tesla Takedown movement was able to put on that relationship. Next slide, please. This was one of the really big things when they had their falling out. Elon Musk tweeted this. This tweet is the reason that the Epstein list has been front and center in the news for like a month and a half or 2 months now. People had sort of, it was a thing that was bubbling, but it wasn't in the main news. And then Elon Musk tweeted this during that breakup that was in part at least sped along by all of the strain that we put on their relationship. And that's been a really key piece of helping tear apart the MAGA coalition internally, of keeping this story and of bringing, hopefully, eventually some accountability for the victims of this. But it wasn't a consequence we thought we were going to generate. But sometimes when you just get up there and you cause trouble for these folks, you can create trouble that you didn't expect to exist. Next slide, please. Tesla still struggling, still in trouble, and we keep working. This movement may not have the news buzz that we had 6 months ago, but we are making every bit as much progress. Next slide. And we are just one of the very successful boycott movements that has launched. Folks, I'm sure know that back in February, Black faith leaders called for a boycott of Target when Target just jumped ship on its DEI commitments. That boycott has been tremendously effective. The CEO of Target was forced to step down. Target has lost billions in sales over the last 7 months, I believe, since the Target boycott was called. And it just demonstrates, again, the power that we have with our dollars to really hold companies accountable. And one of the important things about the Target boycott that's relevant to the T-Mobile boycott is that you saw a number of companies right after the boycott was announced reaffirm their commitment to their DEI policies. Costco is one notably that for all of the other things that it might do wrong, they reaffirmed their commitment to DEI and they stood on the right side. So when we draw lines, we can get corporate America to sometimes not join in the march to authoritarianism. Next. I think that's the end of my, oh, no, there we go. T-Mobile will care. So we're going to show a video in a minute of this petition delivery that we did. T-Mobile was not into even the basics of pretending to care about this petition that we delivered, with more than 20,000 signatures, including 5,000 T-Mobile members who have said that they would sign the pledge, which I hope all of you will do and will ask your friends to do. And even more important than T-Mobile caring, part of what we want to do is make AT&T and Verizon care, the other two big wireless carriers in this country. Right now, Starlink is an exclusive deal with T-Mobile, and we want it to stay that way. Not that so that when their exclusive contract wraps up, that Verizon and AT&T will look at what has happened to T-Mobile and say, yeah, we don't want any of that smoke. We're not going to sign up to get on the Starlink network. We want other corporations to see that there are consequences for ending your DEI practices, for joining up as the carrier for Trump Mobile, for lobbying for the big, beautiful bill. And I want to say, just very bluntly, Verizon and AT&T are big corporations and they do bad things. We're not in this to reward Verizon or AT&T, but we are in it to punish T-Mobile. And at this point in time, T-Mobile is deeper in bed with authoritarianism, with Trump, with Musk, and with the entire movement that is trying to take over our country than any of the other companies. And so we need to focus our attention on T-Mobile. We need to make an example out of them, and we need to make sure that the other companies don't follow T-Mobile's lead down this line. Now, I have seen in the chat a bunch of folks have been asking questions about some of the sub carriers. These in technical terms are MVNOs. I don't know what it stands for. I won't pretend to. I just know the abbreviation. But I will tell you that all of the companies that I'm about to list, and I will drop the list in the chat and you can find it on the website. All of these companies operate on the T-Mobile network, and we ask that you not switch to one of these. So those are Consumer Cellular, Metro PCS, Mint Mobile, Net 10, Google's Project Fi, Red Pocket Mobile, Republic Wireless, Simple Mobile, TPO Mobile, Ting, TracFone, Ultra Mobile, and US Mobile. Again, I'm going to drop that list in there. I see somebody noting Project Fi is Google. It runs on the T-Mobile network. So Google, all of those companies lease space on the T-Mobile network from T-Mobile and then offer their own service that they resell to you at a different rate or with different perks. So all of those companies are still supporting T-Mobile and T-Mobile's march toward fascism. So when you change, we do just ask that you look at the list, that you change to either Verizon or AT&T or one of their subcarriers. And one of the reasons that we set November 15th as the target date is that at the beginning of November, we're going to start seeing the big Black Friday deals where companies are going to offer their biggest incentives for you to move. I moved from T-Mobile recently to Verizon. I received $600 per line that I brought my own device, and that was more than enough for me to buy out my own contracts. Those kinds of deals are going to be on offer so that you should be able to move with little to no financial impact. It's a headache, but we hope that you're willing to take a small headache in order to help us send a message and hopefully stave off the march of authoritarianism. Austin, if you can take down the slides, I'm just going to tell a quick story here for folks. We are still waiting. President Weingarten is on her way to join us, but is coming from an event. And so we're going to take a few of your questions and fill a little time so we can make sure to hear from her. But I want to just tell you quickly about my own experience as a Tesla Takedown activist. I started with organizing a protest here in Seattle. And on that first day, we were standing out there and I was holding a sign and a couple walked past and they just said, "Oh, hey, cool sign." And I said, "Oh, thanks. Are you here for the protest?" And they said, "Oh, no, we just live down the street and we were walking by." And I said, "Well, if you want to hold my sign, you can stay." And they talked to each other for a second and they were like, "Sure, we'll stay." So I handed them my sign and they stayed for an hour. And one of the things that we've heard over and over from folks in the Tesla Takedown movement is, "Thank you for giving us something to do. What else can we do?" And so this is the next thing that folks can do. You can pledge not to ever join T-Mobile. You can pledge to change from T-Mobile. You can join one of the actions that we're hosting at T-Mobile stores or host your own to collect pledge signatures. We have an opportunity to really demonstrate to corporate America that people are willing to step up and do something with their dollars and with their time to prevent corporations from becoming part of an authoritarian machine. And I hope that you will join us. I do see that President Weingarten has joined us. Before Nancy introduces her, I will just say I had the honor of working for President Weingarten for a number of years. She's a truly inspirational leader in the labor movement. I'm super excited to be on this call alongside her and President Cummings again. And thank you all for everything you've done. Nancy, I'm kicking it back to you.
Thanks so much, Evan. Super inspiring to hear all of the amazing actions through Tesla Takedown and how you were affirmed, right? We can do more, right? We can collect signatures and get people to commit to drop T-Mobile as their carrier. Thanks for joining us, President Weingarten. We super honored to have you here. President Weingarten represents 1.8 million members at the American Federation of Teachers. Prior to her election as AFT president in 2008, she served for 11 years as president of the United Federation of Teachers, AFT Local 2, representing approximately 200,000 educators in New York City's public school system, as well as home care providers and other workers in health, law, and education. Thanks again, Randy, for joining us. The mic is all yours.
Thank you, Nancy, and I am at I've just moderated on, is there a possibility to ever get back to Israeli democracy and American democracy? So sorry for being here in this moment here. But I really wanted to be, and thank you, Evan, for that introduction as well. And thank you, Claude, for doing this work. I really want to actually focus on take down Tesla, the fight against T-Mobile, the Target boycott. All of these are really important because we have to, as Americans, we have to engage in commerce. And we cannot just let the billionaires do what the billionaires do and basically use their ability to actually look just that big, ugly betrayal bill of moving basically 50 years of what we've done in the post-Civil War era, and I'm sorry, the post-World War II era, maybe even the post-Civil War era, and move the social contract of America, which was never as, yes, it all starts with T. I love the T's today. Um, I normally talk about the C's, but we have moved from the social safety net that FDR started in the wake of the Gilded Age and the wake of the Depression before World War II. And they're trying to eviscerate all of it. And it is this kind of industrial, you saw all those big tech firms with the president, the industrial corporate elite who now are billionaires in the last 10, 20 years. That and where is the American dream, and where is the middle class, and all of that? So this notion of trying to do some of these targeted commercial actions to recreate power, it is what we have to do as consumers and as Americans. Look at the, we do this in collective bargaining to try to create power for the people that we represent and serve. But this is a way of trying to equalize some commercial power by creating some disruption. And that is part, doing it in a smart way, but that is part of what we are trying to do here. And that's why I really wanted to weigh in today to see the well-organized take, the strategy about T-Mobile, just like the strategy about Target, just like the strategy about Tesla. It is trying to create some power for Americans, and yes, to be disruptors, as someone just said. So on Target, for example, what we've done is we spent, we announced our part of the boycott on Target during the era of school, during the period of time of school opening. And we did it in Chicago with Reverend Bryant, because what Target has done is they have basically made, it was convenient for them. They made all sorts of promises to communities of color. They're like, oh yeah, we're into all these things. And then at the first moment of problem, they broke all their promises. Now, Costco didn't, and others didn't. Not that they're not getting huge pressure, but Target broke their promises. And so we, as educators, at the time that we have, the beginning of school, we thought that was the right time to do it. And our resolution is very clear about the whys, because we don't want this to be viewed as random or, just something we got up one morning and thought about. And I do think that and Target right now, their sales reports came out, I think, the last couple of days. They have lost $12 billion in sales. They've had to remove their CEO. They have declining share price. They have a spiraling consumer confidence problem. And we have done a whole bunch of stuff in the last few quarters now. We have to be part of the T-Mobile fight that you are so ably, Claude and others are so ably leading. We want people to be part of the Tesla fight. We want people to be part of the Target fight. We're not going to take on every single corporation in every single moment, because at the end of the day, what we really want is to reward good behavior. Because at the end of the day, what we really want to do is make sure that the three areas where regular people have real power: elections, the labor movement, and some economic other issues like this, and education. We want those things to be viable public goods for the people of America. So we take back our democracy. So we have a democracy. So we don't let the autocrats and the fascists, sorry, I've written a new book that is out next week called Why Fascists Fear Teachers. We don't even teach about fascism in public schools or autocracy in public schools. We want to be able to take back a broken democracy and make it better, and make sure that the people who we all represent and fight for see and feel the possibility of a better life, not just to go back to a broken status quo or the cruelty we have right now, but a better life. So I'll end not on the T's, but on the C's, which is I wanted to be here today because I am part of an honor to be part of this broader community where we're fighting for the good guys. We're fighting for regular folks. We all have to be and really be intentional about our broader communities. Claude and I are in the labor community and we have each other's back all the time. But secondly, we have to think strategically about how to fight. And yes, it's the courts and they're really important, but it's also commerce. And it's also Congress, where we take it to them to say, the people who we rely on, we go to them and say, thank you. The people who vote against us, we have to make the case to others that against us, they should be voted out of office. But the most important is the court of public opinion, where we not only fight against this nonsense, this cruelty, this chaos, this corruption, this inequality, but fight for that better life and fight as a community to do that. So that's why I'm honored to be with all of you, because I want to be part. I'm not leading this fight. I got a whole bunch of other fights that we are, but I want to be part of a good civic citizen in the fight in T-Mobile, the fight against T-Mobile, and be a servant leader, be one of the people in solidarity to be with all of you. So thank you.
Thank you so much for those remarks, President Weingarten. We're so inspired to have you here, and CWA as well. Thank you so much for your leadership, and congratulations on the book. I hope people will grab the book as well.
Thank you. Why
yes.
Fascists Fear Teachers, out next week. You can order it now in your favorite bookstore.
Thank you so much. So now I'm going to take back facilitation. We've wrapped up with our speakers this evening, but there's some important things that we want to ask you as next steps to not only to signing this pledge. If you haven't signed the pledge while you've been on this call, please sign it now. We're going to drop it in the chat again. And I just want to highlight exactly what we want T-Mobile to commit to by November 15th. We want T-Mobile to end its partnership with Elon Musk's Starlink. We want them to reinstate their DEI program. We want them to stop union busting, and we want them to drop Trump Mobile from their network. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the call, you don't have to be a T-Mobile customer to sign this pledge. So go ahead and sign that pledge. And secondly, how are we going to pull this off, right, by such a quick deadline? We plan to organize with leaders like you to show up at T-Mobile stores, at any protests or mass marches in your town or city to help us gather pledge signatures, right? We want to get as many people involved to make the pledge to drop T-Mobile if they're customers, or to commit to never doing business with T-Mobile. Our goal is to get 10,000 people to cancel their T-Mobile contracts on November 15th, and we need your help to make these commitments. So we're going to drop in an interest form in the chat for you to fill out. And once you filled that out, an organizer will be in touch. We'll be organizing an onboarding call for those who are interested in leading these pledge signature gathering actions. And we really hope you can join us. Over the next couple of months, we want you to join us in organizing these actions every week. Evan talked about Tesla Takedown protests, right? Every single week, people are out there. We want that same energy, targeting T-Mobile, and invite you to join us in organizing these actions to collect as many boycott T-Mobile pledge signatures as possible. And again, by calling for a boycott, we want T-Mobile to rethink their cost-benefit analysis. We really need them to reconsider, and we must show them that this is not in their best interest. Their reputation will be harmed when customers decide to drop their service. And we know that by calling for a boycott will make them rethink whether they want to continue enabling this administration and further enriching Elon Musk. So once again, we want you to please fill out an interest form and sign up to lead these boycott T-Mobile pledge signature gathering actions across the country. We will drop that link once again in the chat for you to join us. And again, an organizer will be in touch with you soon. We also know that there's going to be some huge marches next week. We encourage you to go to these. They are the Make Billionaires Pay marches across the country on Saturday, September 20th, and the Sunday events on September 21st, which is a Sunday, when you can help us gather some of these signatures. We'll drop that information as well, so where you can find these events. But before you leave this call, we really want you to sign up to lead these pledge gathering actions outside of T-Mobile stores or some of these massive actions. Before we go, I know there was like a lot of questions in the chat. I've tried to answer those as best as we can. I apologize if we didn't get to all of those questions, but we do want to put on a third poll. We want to know from you if you're willing to help us hold T-Mobile accountable, right? By signing the pledge, by organizing or joining our pledge signature gathering actions across the country that we're kicking off. And we'll have a onboarding call on Tuesday of next week. So we can show that poll. All right, so we hope this has really energized everyone. We're super grateful for the speakers who are joining us. Take this poll. Let us know if you feel energized too to hold T-Mobile accountable. We'll give it a few more seconds. And we're going to close that poll. All right, it looks like we have a few people who want to organize these actions, those that want to attend, and others who also want to, are interested in helping in other ways. Thank you so much for everyone for joining us this evening. We know it's a little bit on the later side on the East Coast. And again, to all of our wonderful speakers who joined us this evening, we know that together we can send a clear message to T-Mobile. If they don't hang up on authoritarianism, thousands of T-Mobile customers will hang up on you, T-Mobile. We hope we have a great evening. We're going to drop our website in the chat one more time where you can find all the resources that you need to cancel your contract, to join us on November 15th, to join us during our signature gathering actions. Have a great evening, everyone. Thanks for being with us tonight. Take good care.